So, welcome everyone. Today we have with us Apala Mishra. She had secured All India rank 9 in the Civil Services 2020. So, welcome Apala and many congratulations. Uh, how do you feel? I would like you to introduce to our audience, and I would like to know that how are you feeling? Like what exactly an aspirant goes through when she is so successful.
So firstly, thank you so much for having me here, and it is my pleasure. And sir, talking about the feeling, then I'd say the major feeling is the feeling of relief that finally one journey comes to an end and another journey begins here. So that is the major feeling that I'm having.
Okay. And like, who would you like to give the credit for your success? Like, it's luck, or it's someone in your life, or you yourself? How is it?
So I think my parents deserve the maximum credit because my parents have continuously been an emotionally supportive factor in my life. And also apart from that, my parents have been an inspiration for me also because both of them serve the society in their own ways. My father is in the army while my mother is in the education sector. She is a professor in Delhi University. So both of them have inspired me to work for the country, to keep the country at first and just work towards your goals. So I think my parents deserve this success more than me.
Yeah, especially you would have inculcated that that never say die spirit, like that would have
Yes,
provided
sir.
you the mental attitude to be there. And what about your academic journey? What, like, from what background do you come? Do you come from an engineering background, or a medical background, or a social sciences background?
So, sir, I come from a medical background.
Okay.
After my 12th class, I joined the course of Bachelor's of Dental Surgery. That is a 5-year course, and due to that, I became a dentist. And even in my college, I was a gold medalist, and I had the academic award for academic excellence provided to me at the convocation. So I'd say academically, I had always been doing well, but once I stepped into this UPSC journey, then that presented me different sets of challenges.
Okay. Yeah, because I was thinking that academically so successful, and then 2 attempts prelims you were unable to qualify,
Yes, sir.
and so how did that feel?
Sir, I think what was wrong was that I was not strategizing for this exam. So we come from a certain background and we have a habit of studying that way. But UPSC in itself is a very different exam. And the demands of this exam are very different from the demands of other exams that we face in our education system. So for that you must understand the exam first, and this is the mistake that I did. I did not understand the exam. I just started studying whatever was available, whatever I saw in Topper Talks and everything, and I did not take out time for myself to start thinking about it. So that was definitely demotivating, but I think every failure is a lesson in itself, and if you don't know failure, you will never know success.
Okay, so but I'll be specific.
Yes, sir.
So to differentiate this topper talk from
Yes,
the
sir.
others,
Yes,
I would like to know exactly what you mean in practical terms, understanding this exam. And so what exactly it is, how this exam it is different from our traditional education system, and what were the loopholes which you identified in your strategy earlier, and how did you overcome them? So the students, they know that, okay, that Apala has mentioned that strategize, but students, they want to know that, okay, exactly how, or so that they do not commit that mistake.
definitely, sir. So I begin by saying that this exam is of a dynamic nature. While in other exams, for example, our college exams or our school exams, we can memorize stuff and then we can reproduce it on our answer sheets. But here we have to apply the knowledge that we have gained from reading across the spectrum. So, for that, firstly, we must begin by knowing at what level do we actually stand. Not everyone has the same path in this examination. Everyone enters at a different level. So you need to know your own level. Uh, you need not be fooled by certain aspects. For example, you should not fool yourself saying that you can clear this exam in 1 month. You should know how much time would you require, and for that you have to take the help of the syllabus. You need to start reading the basic books. Don't think that you can skip the NCRTs. You have to read everything. You have to understand everything, and then you have to make a plan for your own self that will suit you and no one else.
Okay. So when you mentioned that you have to read, when you have to apply knowledge, or which you have gathered from across different spectrum, or different spectrums. So in simple words, can I say that you're talking about interconnections?
Yes, sir, definitely.
And interconnections not just within different chapters of a subject, but between subjects also at times.
Yes, sir. Every subject and even, sir, everything we come across on a daily basis in current affairs, everything needs to be related.
Okay. So that we can connect the theory with the practical aspect with the
Yes,
help
sir.
of current affairs, and we can have a 360-degree view, because many of the people say that you should have a holistic approach.
Yes,
So
sir.
exactly, students, they do not understand what is this holistic
Yes,
approach.
sir.
So it is basically about different subjects से जो भी whatever that is related उसको लेके आना है
Yes,
करके.
sir.
Okay. So that would obviously, it will take certain minimum amount of time for.
Yes, sir.
So how much time do you think that it is enough for, let's say I'm a fresh aspirant, then and let's say I'm at a mean level, right? Because like for the help of the audience, I'm at an average level, right? So how much approximately the time before the prelims should a student like devote dedicatedly to UPSC for having a fair chance at getting in the list? Not a topper, but like in the list.
Yes, sir. So I think 1 year should be devoted to this exam because every stage of this exam requires the due respect that it deserves. So you don't have to just read for prelims when you start. You have to start preparing in an integrated manner. You have to keep mains in mind. You have to practice answer writing. You have to give test series. You have to practice mocks. So all that, and also you have to read your optional. So for all that, I think you can have at least 1 year at hand, and 1 year is more than enough. So one good attempt is what it takes, and one good attempt requires 1 year.
Okay. In the last, you mentioned optional. So, like your optional was anthropology,
Yes.
and I'm pretty sure that viewers, they would be looking up to certain tips from the topper, right, regarding anthro. So, like in general, like how did you decide your optional? What parameters you feel are the right aspects for deciding that what should be my optional? Because people, they get influenced by the toppers. For example, like you have got anthro, so many aspirants, they will be enthused that we can also take anthro, or the people, they try to identify that okay, let's take out a list of top 50, and the toppers who got the maximum that particular option, we'll go with that. But in reality, from your experience, what are the different parameters on the basis of which you chose the optional? And like then particularly about anthro, any sources or anything which you would like to guide the students about?
Yes, sir. So one thing that I'd like to highlight here is that while choosing your optional, don't look at the pros and cons of the optional. Look at the pros and cons of yourself, and if you are able to fit in with that optional. I'll explain this. For example, in my case, I come from a biology background, and BDS as an optional was not available in the list of optionals. So the closest subject to my background was anthropology, because in anthropology we have a paper, we have a segment of physical anthropology, and that has topics like evolution, genetics, and I thought that particularly for myself, I might be able to score well in those areas. So those areas were my strengths. The second thing was that coming from a medical background, I have a little habit of drawing diagrams, such as the diagram of skull or the jaw, or in evolution we have to draw diagrams. So I thought that I would be able to do well. So the whole analysis came to the fact that I might be able to perform better in anthropology than in any other subject, and that might give me an edge. So my strengths inculcated in that subject. And coming to how to prepare for anthropology.
I like to
Yes.
put a break. So two phases happen actually, because
Yes.
I've also been through the preparation. There's one stage when we are deciding our optional, when we feel that these are our strengths and these are our weaknesses, and therefore we should go with that optional.
Yes.
And once we have prepared that optional, so in hindsight we can look that, you know, certain new things might have come up, that okay, I did not know that I had this particular strength which came into play, or I thought that this was a strength but this optional does not need that strength that much.
Okay.
I mean, so,
Yes.
so basically in the beginning you might have thought that okay, on this basis, so how much of that came true, that these things they actually helped you in Enthro? And apart from thing, any other things, any new challenges which you had to face which you had not anticipated, or any easy things which happened which you also had not anticipated?
Yes, sir. So, sir, to decide if it favors me or not, I actually took the help of previous year question papers of the optional subject, and I had a look at those questions, and I saw 1, 2 questions from my BDS syllabus in that paper.
Okay.
So that was the deal breaker.
Okay.
The question I saw for the first time was the question on Down's syndrome,
Mm-hmm.
and I had prepared it in my final year in my college.
Okay.
So if some subject is giving me that opportunity to use that background knowledge, then I think that worked for me. Now, coming to the other part is that sometimes just your interest in that subject is not enough.
Okay.
You should also know if you would be able to channelize your interest into output.
Definitely.
So for that, you must try to read through certain aspects of that syllabus. You must see, for example, in anthropology, I did not know that there is a huge part of social anthropology as well.
Okay.
And that is the part that I actually started liking more than physical.
Okay.
Because that has aspects such as caste system, family, marriage, and these are certain things that really interest me or anyone in general who is into the preparation. So that also became another good factor. But the hindrance that came, I think one thing was that anthropology has very little overlaps with general studies.
Okay.
So this thing I realized later that maybe this might be a hindrance, but I think it is not really a hindrance. If you like that subject and if you're able to cover it, then it's all right.
So how much of this Enthro it overlaps with society part of GS?
So very little.
Very little.
Some part of society overlaps with GS society,
Okay.
but apart from that, I think it does not figure anywhere else.
Okay.
The other hindrance was that in the paper 2 of tribal anthropology, you need to learn some things, memorize some things. There are a lot of classifications. There are a lot of tribes in India which we are not aware of before starting this journey. But then at the end of the day, you come out more aware, you come out more knowledgeable about your own country. So I think it is a win-win situation.
Great. That helps. That actually is more specific. And anything specific that how to prepare anthropology?
Yes, sir. For anthropology, I think I'll talk about just my own optional.
Yeah.
I think notes making is very important. This was one of the phases where I made entire notes. I made notes in very few areas. In interview, I made full notes, and in anthropology, I made full notes. So in anthropology, what you have to do is that since the syllabus is a little static and questions can get repeated, so you must be thoroughly prepared with those areas. And for those areas, you can take 2-3 books. If you have any coaching notes, you can take that. If you have any good book of anthropology, take that. Don't stick to one source. Take those 2-3 books, mark on them, and make your own notes. Make an answer that you feel is good. It can be a single page answer or a 2-page answer. Have certain sheets. Just note down the topics and note down their answers. These answers will actually help you in the final exam.
Okay. So like topic wise, one should prepare.
Yes. Either you can prepare topic wise, micro topics, every micro topic in the syllabus, or you can form a question. You can do previous year questions, question answer format also a lot of people follow. I followed the topic wise approach.
Okay. Okay. and we can use those A4 sheets for
Yes, sir.
this thing.
Yes, sir. I made the notes in A4 sheets, and I finally, before the exam, got them binded so
Okay.
that they're all in one place.
Mm-hmm.
And then now I have 4 registers for 4 areas of anthropology.
Okay, so that would really have helped you in during the revision phase,
Yes, sir.
because that phase is pretty hectic tension wise, and
Yes.
what you want is that, okay, I'm sitting on a table for 10 hours or 8 hours, and I simply want, in an organized manner, I want those things, and I want.
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Definitely.
great. And what about prelims? I mean, this is like one area, and it's very surprising that, okay, 2 prelims. You might be surprised yourself also. I don't know that after 2 failures in the prelims, you were able to crack, with rank 9. So, but how was it? How was the psychological journey towards? How did you deal with the it's like setbacks are there, and so like how was it? Are you surprised?
Sir, here I'll say that progress is never a straight line.
Okay.
The graph is always up and down. So I was more surprised when I could not clear the prelims.
Okay.
Because I was hoping to clear it. In my first attempt, I gave that attempt without preparing much. As I said, when I entered this field, I did not have any guidance. So I just read whatever was available on the internet, the little information, and I just gave the exam, which was not the correct approach. So my first prelims was not a major setback because I knew that I had an entire year to prepare. But when I gave my second prelims, that became a huge setback for me, and that demotivated me a lot because I could not qualify it. But then I sat down and I rectified my mistakes. The major mistake that I made, and that a lot of aspirants make, is that I was only focusing on prelims since the past 1 year. I was not preparing notes on mains, I was not doing answer writing, and in fact, even the newspaper, I was not reading it every day. So these were major blunders, I'd say, in the preparation. And sometimes we think that we should only focus on prelims. Prelims nikal jayega, fir dekhenge. That is an attitude that is prevalent in 80% of the aspirants. And that is an attitude that actually becomes a major hindrance in your success. So I rectified that, and finally I got through.
Okay. So you mean to say that when a student is preparing, she or he should not classify the preparation as, I'm preparing for prelims, now I'm preparing for mains. Like, he should prepare, or she should prepare like topic wise, or like, one should like mains ke liye hi prepare karo, because that automatically inculcates the aspects of prelims.
Yes, sir. One must begin by taking a larger, broader view. We cannot start immediately with prelims because in prelims itself there are a lot of questions asked which are slightly analytical, which are not exactly objective correct answer like just mark one option. You have to think on that. So if you prepare for mains and if you read all the aspects thoroughly, then definitely you can clear your prelims easily.
Yeah, I mean, if one is preparing for a harder battle, it's commonsensical that one should be, because only the format is different. The base on which these things are there, that's the same.
Yes, sir.
Right? Okay. And then many of the students, they do this thing that since UPSC has made available 6 attempts, okay, right, 60, you know?
Yes.
Right. So UPSC has made available 6 attempts. So basically, many of the students say कि practice के लिए दे लेते हैं first attempt. So does it, when you're filling the form for the second time or for the third time, and does it play a psychological role that when the UPSC asks that how many attempts you have made already, and then when you had to write 1, right, or when you had to write 2, right? So especially did this feeling come to you that if I had given my first attempt as a genuine attempt, then ये एक नंबर कम होता? मतलब तो यूपीएससी मेरे को शायद से ऐसे नहीं सोचता, इन द इंटरव्यू शायद से ऐसे नहीं सोचता दैट ओके यू हैव गिवन 3 अटेम्प्ट्स और दिस इज योर थर्ड अटेम्प्ट. If they had thought that okay, this is your second attempt, so psychologically does it play a role, and should the aspirants, they should give the first attempt like not just for the fun sake, but like at least when they have devoted like an 8 months or 1 year, like a genuine attempt should be first attempt, or like practice के लिए भी दे सकते हैं types?
No, sir. The first attempt should definitely be a genuine attempt. when we give this exam is not something that you can give for practice, because here I think attempts ka stigma hai kafi. You know, people keep asking you which attempt. Ever since I have got my result, the first thing that I am being asked is which attempt. So now I cannot go on explaining to people that no, first attempt I gave as a trial, I was not prepared. So it definitely works as a demotivating factor. You start feeling like you failed, when in reality you were actually not prepared for the battle itself. So you put yourself through a stage which you should not put yourself in. Definitely no one is ever 100% prepared for this exam. But you should set realistic goals and realistic targets. If you have 8-9 months in hand, then definitely you can prepare yourself enough that maybe you can qualify pre. If not, then it's all right. But at least give this exam the due respect that it deserves.
Exactly.
So don't take it lightly.
So did the board ask you that it's your third attempt? Did they highlight it?
Sir, they actually did not ask me that. They asked me that narrate your story which brings you here to this chair in which you're sitting.
Okay.
So then I had to tell it to them myself, and I told them in very few simple lines that this is my story. So then they asked me that I don't see any struggle story here. So I said, sir, I think you are not identified by your struggles, but the lessons you learn from them. I think that what started my interview, and this is how it went on.
And they asked me also, like I also got lucky to appear in an interview, right? So they asked me, so Himanshu, this is your third attempt. Like they asked me this. So like that matlab UPSC can also think of it in those terms that okay, these are the number of attempts
Yes,
which
sir.
are there.
And sir, sorry to interrupt, but one more thing I'd like
Yeah,
to
yeah,
add
please,
here
please.
for the aspirants is that we often see a lot of people clearing in their first attempt, and we get demotivated if we are not one of them. But the fact we need to understand here is that this exam requires at least 1 year of preparation. Now you can give that 1 year either in between your attempts, like you can start that 1 year after your second attempt, or you can do it before you've started attempting. So that time period will not change for anyone. It's only that whether you decided to give the exam early or later. That is what changes.
Yeah, because those who clear in first attempts, like when we talk to them, so they had been preparing for 1 year, 1.5 year,
Yes.
maybe during their graduation or yeah, so pretty true. Okay, and did you did you like shift your focus towards prelims like 3 months before the prelims or 5 months before the prelims? Was there a shift of focus because of the format of prelims, or because certain subjects they come only in mains? So was there any such gear shifting which took place?
So my shift of focus was mostly based on my fear
Okay.
of not being able to clear prelims again. So I started focusedly preparing for prelims at least 3 months before the prelims. And in those 3 months, what I did was that I used to give mock tests at my home from 9:30 to 11:30. I would evaluate them. I would note down the points that I did not know, and I would revise my basic books and current affairs. So this was a focused prelims preparation.
So that means because giving prelims is easy, mock test, but what many students skip is analysis of their mistakes. So that's where you spend a lot of time.
Yes, sir. That requires time because, in fact, the analysis is tougher than the mock itself.
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
the analysis requires time. You have to do that.
Okay. And like how many mocks one should give, or how frequently one should attempt?
So for myself, I think I gave a lot of mocks. I think I gave 35 to 40 mocks.
In a span of how many months before the prelims?
So at least 2 months.
Okay.
So initially I used to give a mock every day, but then it started becoming too hectic, and what we do is that to compensate for time, we start shortening our evaluation time or analysis time, and then we only focus on doing the tests as you mentioned. So then I started doing the test every alternate day. One day I would do the mock, the next day I would evaluate. The other, then it would go that.
So you prepared like both the CSAT as well as this thing, or like this is only for the paper 1?
So this is for paper 1.
Okay.
For CSAT, I had a book of previous years solved questions, and I also had a few mock tests. And I would do that at least 1 month before the exam. I would spare 2 hours or 1.5 hours for CSAT every day, because I don't come from a mathematics background, and I was also a little scared of maths. So CSAT ke liye bhi I devoted certain time.
Okay. Did you enter into any All India test series or something?
Yes, sir. I gave the open mock tests of coaching institutes, for example, the Abhyas test of vision. I think that is helpful. You get to have an atmosphere and you can evaluate yourself.
So, in your third attempt, when you cleared the prelims, in the Abhyas, were you able to secure like decent rank, which gave you a sense of confidence that this time I'm better?
Yes, sir. I was able to do well in that Abhyas test series, and it was actually, I think, a little on the tougher side, but then my marks were good, so I got a little confidence.
Confidence, I would say. Great. Okay. Any prelims specific sources like which you would like to highlight,
Yes,
or
sir.
like you can mention like since you talked about integrated approach. So, for example, let's say you can pick and choose any mainstream subjects like history or something else where you feel that okay, this one source is good enough or anything.
So for prelims, I'd say we should start with the basics. That is the NCRTs. Now the NCRTs I read from 11th, from 9th to 12th, but you can also read it from 6th or 8th.
वो तो पूरा पर लाइब्रेरी बन जाएगा ना मतलब सो
Yes, sir,
6 to 12th का NCRT for
those-
so many subjects.
Yeah, so I'll talk about that also. So when you read the NCRTs, you don't have to actually mug up the entire NCRTs.
Okay.
You have to find out any point that is relevant for this exam, any topic that you feel that is important. You might note it down separately, or you might just put a tag on that book and mark it there. So it would actually come down to very few pages at the end of the day. But why you need to read it is because if you're coming from a science background, for example, then we tend to forget a lot of our basics. For example, in polity, we forget what we studied, we forget the fundamental rights. So, एक तरह से revision हो जाता है and your basics become strong. You don't need to be completely dedicatedly preparing NCRTs for 1 year. Just quickly go through them, quickly see if any point is good, note it down, remember it, put a tag, and that is it.
Okay.
Don't go overboard with NCRTs. And for the book list, sir, I will actually take out an entire book list and put it somewhere. Maybe I'll start a YouTube channel. I don't know. I'm still thinking.
Okay.
But yes, a detailed book list is something that I have to actually prepare.
Good. Okay. So yeah, we'll look forward to that definitely. And okay, so next what we have is we can talk about certain things about mains. So in mains there is something unique that is ethics, and like there is a lot of emphasis on ethics. So do you think there is a separate preparation? Obviously, separate preparation it is required for ethics, but like how to go about it, and like what were the challenges, or are there challenges with respect to sources, or like should you make notes, or like simply read, or did you refer to different sources like code of conduct for civil services because they are also having some genesis in ethics? So like how was it?
So sir, for ethics was actually a subject that I really liked. And for that, I maintained a separate notebook. That notebook was on my laptop. It was a soft copy. And in that, I would keep adding any point that I would get. So firstly, you must begin by writing down the syllabus. That is for any and every subject. And then I would add certain aspects. For example, if I get a very good story in the newspaper, then I'll write it down. If there is some nice story about Mahatma Gandhi coming in the news on 2nd October, so then just note it down there. And likewise, I would have a collection of a lot of examples and a lot of stories and a lot of quotations. Everything was ready before the exam. And so my parents used to watch KBC. So वहाँ पे भी sir, sometimes you get certain stories, good stories, stories of dedication of successful people. So that can be added in ethics in certain value. For example, dedication mein you can add certain, you can add about Olympics, gold medal, everything that is happening around you, you can make a list of that. and those can be used in your answers in ethics. And you also need to keep revising that. That is what I revised just before the exam also, because basics we can write, but these are the things that actually fetches marks.
Okay. And any sources for ethics? Like, how
Uh,
do you begin? Do you begin with some basic dictionary, or like where to begin exactly?
so begin by reading a basic textbook. There are 2-3 textbooks available in the market. Anyone would do. Now, once you have that basic textbook, you've read it, you get the hang of what ethics is actually about. Because ethics is something that we've not read previously. So once you get to know and understand that, okay, this subject deals with this, then you go on to the next step. For example, you've written down the values. You can start by giving an example to every value that you've written down, or a certain story for every value that you've written down. So that way it is a two-step preparation for ethics.
Okay. And in the beginning, you mentioned spectrum, through different spectrums, we should like bring it in, interconnected
Yes,
approach.
sir.
So, for example, history has many, figures, prominent
Yes,
figures,
sir.
ethical figures,
Yes, sir.
and similarly, other subjects like international relations might also be talking about, some prominent figure. So, did you use other subjects for your ethics?
Yes, sir. And just as you were speaking, I actually remembered the history example that I had used. So, in one of the mock tests, I think there was a question on if you change yourself, you change things around you. So, in that, I wrote the example of Ashoka's Dhamma. So you have so many examples from history as well, and even in modern history, you have so many examples that can be used in ethics any day.
Okay. And like these from current affairs, for example, these civil services awards which are given,
Yes,
so
sir.
they can.
Yes, sir. In this preparation, you always have to be in preparation mode. You must see everything from a point of view of its utility in your examination. So, whatever you come across, anything can help you, especially in ethics.
So for case studies, any specific approach that you followed, or what helped you
Yes,
in
sir.
case studies?
So, for case studies in the market, there are a lot of compilations available of coaching institutes, for example, 75 case studies which are solved. So, we can practice using that. I use that, and after about 5-6 case studies, you actually get the hang of the type of questions that are being asked. And then you focus on practicing it, compare it with the model answer, see if you missed any point, or you started thinking in a completely different direction. And the second aspect is focusing on presentation of the case study. So you must know, for example, for stakeholders, we can make a box diagram, or we can use a flow chart for anything. So presentation is also important.
Okay. And coming to presentation, so did you focus how much of this presentation is important during your notes making, and also during your this thing exam, actual exam? Because if you, for example, have flow charts, maybe it helps you in faster revision during the final days. And how much of flow chart, because you yourself mentioned diagrams, etc. Like, so how much role does a presentation plays in the answers?
Yes, I think presentation is the most important factor, not just in mains, but in any stage of this exam. Because how you present yourself is how you will be evaluated. Be it in mains, be it in interview. Presentation is the thing that you're presenting to the examiner to give you marks on. So, coming to the diagrams aspect, I think I made a lot of maps. Maps are something that you can draw in within 2 seconds, and that can be used in a lot of questions. For example, in international relations, you can draw a world map. For history questions, if they talk about the kingdoms of South India, you can draw a map of South India and just label that these kingdoms were here. These maps need not be 100% accurate, they're just representative in nature. And below that, you must label it that I put all my diagrams in a box and labeled it below that this figure represents uh, kingdoms of South India.
Okay.
So maps were very helpful. And talking about flowcharts, so flowcharts can be used where necessary, and for that in your notes only you have to incorporate flowcharts, because during that time of the exam your brain may not function in a very fast manner to think of a new flowchart creatively. So that must be there as a part of your notes and preparation itself.
Okay. And did you write answers in point format or like in paragraph format? Because there, one is like the linear form, that is you simply write like an introduction, body, conclusion, this kind of way. Then some of the students, they are into like writing in point format, but where each point is like a paragraph, like so following other reasons and So how did you go about it?
So I use the point format,
Okay.
but in certain questions,
Mm-hmm.
depending on the demand of the question, sometimes you have to write more in those points. Sometimes the questions, especially in society, the questions are a little analytical, so you might want to express more, so you can write more. But sticking to the point format actually makes the presentation aspect neater, and there is a certain clarity of thought represented in that. So I think point format is better.
And time management also, that okay, I have covered these 5 points
Yes.
or these broad areas, so my answer is kind of complete. This kind of satisfaction during the exam might come.
Yes, sir.
Okay, right. So that's it. And regarding essay, like in essay, like how did you go about it? Like you choose the topic and you simply just went ahead and started writing, or there is a preparatory phase, where you draw flowcharts or something, some kind of a map, and then you start expressing your thoughts.
Yes, sir. For essay also, you have to be pre-prepared.
Okay.
Nothing can be done on that day of the exam itself. Don't leave anything, even if you think that you're very good at it. So, in my pre-preparation phase for essay, I had made broad frameworks for general topics. For example, there is a topic of women, or education, or health, or even certain philosophical topics such as humanity or happiness. So, just have a broad framework that these are the points that can be used for essay. And here also your GS notes and your ethics notes will help you. So once you have that broad framework, then whichever topic you get, you can use those frameworks in any topic. You might not use them completely, but one or two examples, one or two areas that you remember that you wrote in that aspect can be utilized. So take some time to choose your topic, have a little rough work, have a framework as to how you're going to write your essay. You get ample of time in the essay paper, so that is not an issue. In a single page, you can have a framework and then you can start writing the essay.
Okay. And how much role does students, they worry about that they come from a rural background, so they don't have that good English. So, or if English is the language of choice, so how much role does vocabulary plays in all of this?
So I think vocabulary does not play any role, and you do not have to worry if your English is not fluent. UPSC is an exam which actually checks your mental clarity or the thought process. So that thought process must be clear. It need not be with any flowerish language. It just should be presented in a manner which is thoughtful, which is clear, which is neat. So I think English should not be an issue.
Okay. And is like you had talked about like writing answer writing. So did you practice writing full essays also before your mains exam?
Yes, sir. I wrote four papers of essay,
Okay.
and I did that because one thing is very important is that while you have to work on your weaknesses, you also should strengthen your strengths. So I believe that essay and ethics could be my strengths, and so for essay I devoted a lot of time for essay. As I told you, I made notes of frameworks. Then I used to apply it in test papers of essays. So I did a lot of practice for essay.
So basically that helped you get a hang of how to convert those frameworks into
Yes, sir.
proper writings.
Yes, sir.
Okay, that's good. That's good. Okay, and so exactly when should one start writing answers, or when should one start joining these test series, after prelims or before prelims? Like how is it?
No, nothing should be left for after prelims.
Okay.
After prelims, you get just 2.5 months, and in those months, you have to study everything, and it becomes humanly impossible to start something new. So, tests or answer writing practice should be begin once you have your basics ready. You cannot just jump on to answer writing immediately without knowing anything. That way you will just end up making notes out of the answers, you will end up copying those answers. So here what is very important to emphasize is that answer writing practice is a practice. It is not note making. So you have to practice writing whatever you have read, be it any topic, be it history, geography, any static portion. You must be able to reproduce it in an answer format.
Exactly.
And if it is not good, then it's all right. It is just a practice. Your answers should not be perfect. They should not be in your notes. You should just be practicing your expression here.
Because many of the times the questions, what they do is that UPSC also and these test series also, they would like combine 2 to 3 topics and they would ask a question on relations of those topics.
Yes, sir.
And there basically you get into that practice that okay, these are my notes of topic A, these are my notes of topic B, these are my notes of topic C, and as per the demand of the question, how do I practice bringing that
Yes, sir.
you know, that combination out.
Yes, sir.
So that becomes important, right?
Definitely. Because whatever you've read is one thing, but if you're able to reproduce it, is an entirely different game.
Entirely different story. Yeah, totally agree. Okay, and in the exam, did you attempt all the questions? Were you able to complete your all of your GS papers and your optional papers in time? Like, how is it? And like, how did you go about? Like, did you answer all the questions, or did you choose that? Choose that, you know? Okay, these are my strength areas. I'm going to, like, what was your strategy? Different ways can be there. That these are my strong areas. I'm first going to attempt the questions of my strong areas, or these are my weak areas. Let us get the weak areas out quickly. Or you know, simple follow the orderly format 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 and just write it. So did you divide your 3 hours or into, you know, like by number of questions? Like, how did you do the time management? How many questions did you attempt? What is the strategy in mains as well as in prelims?
So, sir, talking about mains, we actually do not have a lot of time in mains. Every minute is very important in the mains examination. So, I started by writing the 15 markers first because those were the lengthier aspects and those required writing more. And in lesser time, you can finish the 10 markers. So, I started with the 15 markers, and I would suggest to not begin with reading the question paper entirely first, because that would take 5 minutes of yours, and then you would have 5 minutes less for attempting the last question. So just read and attempt. If you don't know anything, you can skip it definitely, but try attempting all the questions, because attempting all the questions is very important to about finding your name in that list of qualifying means. So for myself, the only aim for mains was attempting the entire papers. That was the only aim that I had in my head, and that I could finish all the papers in time.
Okay, so you began with the 15 markers which require your maximum analysis,
Yes, sir.
and then you moved on to shorter, you know,
Yes.
these things. Okay, and otherwise you followed the serial order. There was no differentiation that geography is strong, so I'm going to
No, sir.
nothing like that. Okay, and in prelims,
So in prelims, so I started with the first question itself, but sometimes what happens that you get a set where the first few questions are very difficult, or
Yes.
for example the first few questions are of science and you are from humanities background. So in that case you can actually select from where to start with a comfortable portion. For example, polity can be good of most of the students who are preparing for this exam, so you can start with polity. That would give you confidence, that would give you the strength to move on to the difficult portions. So in prelims you can do it flexibly, but we must remember to mark the OMR also correctly with that.
okay, because at times what happens if your subject is not strong, and then there are confusing options,
Yes.
you end up getting stuck on that one you know, question for
Yes.
multiple minutes. I mean, that results in your time management gets a little.
Yes, sir, that happens, and that needs to be avoided.
And did you like two kind of strategies are there? Some aspirants or some toppers, they say that they believe in like answering the maximum, because you know, that ratio is there, right? That if I get 3 questions wrong and if I get 1 correct, or like, you know, it's like negative marking and also, you know, some students they go aggressive approach, some students they go for defensive कि whatever I'm जो भी मैं आंसर कर रहा हूँ वो मेरा ठीक होना चाहिए. तो आपकी क्या strategy थी इसमें?
So for this, you must know what works for you. For some people, attempting a lot of questions works well, whereas for others, attempting fewer questions works well. So how would you get to know that? That is by attempting the mock tests, which you'll do every day at your home. So once you attempt the mock test, just have a broad framework of the range that is working for you. For example, in my case, I realized that in my previous prelims, I attempted only 76 questions and I failed by a few marks. But whenever I used to do more than 90 questions, that worked well for me.
Okay.
However, this range should not be very strict because the paper can be difficult or easy, and depending on that, you have to flexibly change your range. But a broad framework can be kept in mind.
Okay, that's valid because this is the doubt in the minds of many. कि कितने attempt करने चाहिए और इस तरीके से. Okay. Now coming to the like one of the the area which I was waiting for, your interview. So Apala has secured the highest marks, like 215, right?
Yes, sir.
So please, I mean, the floor is yours. The challenges during the interview. How was the interview? The interview was taking place in very special circumstances. Apala had to wear gloves. Apala had to wear, face shield also. So expression of your thoughts. It creates a lot of. It brings in a lot of extrinsic factors which ideally should not be there. तो aspirant के ऊपर तो tension और ज़्यादा बढ़ गया है कि मेरे को ऐसे ऐसे मैडम. So how was it and what psychologically how did you deal with all of this COVID thing? Because कहीं ना कहीं एक ये भी back of the mind में होगा कि
Yes, sir.
this COVID is going on and बहुत सारे मतलब families में भी कुछ
Yes,
हुआ
sir.
ही है. तो psychologically how was it?
Yes, sir. So firstly, I'll address the COVID part, that because of the COVID, our interview got postponed, and it also created a lot of uncertainty because date नहीं आ रही थी, and we had to also think of the next attempt कि mains पढ़े, prelims पढ़े, interview पढ़े. That was there. Also, sir, as you said, a lot of people were impacted with COVID, and in my family as well, my father was admitted for more than 2-3 weeks in the ICU ward. So that also created a lot of problems. But these are the challenges that we face, and challenges are always there. One major challenge was that we had to give the interview with mask on and shield on and gloves on. So that also created a challenge because we are not used to speaking so much with the mask on, especially in interview. Because in interview, your expression depends a lot on your facial expressions. But if those are hidden, then that becomes a roadblock. So now, sir, coming to the preparation of interview, this is one thing that
So let's complete that.
Yes, sir.
So did you did you enter and then did you take permission that can I take my face shield off or can I take my mask off, or did the board ask you how is it, or did you continue with your face shield on? How is
so,
it?
sir, when we enter, we have to enter with shield, mask, and gloves, and they sanitize our hand just before entering. So that is the protocol for every board. But during the interview, the board asked me that if I want to, I can remove my shield. But the mask was kept on throughout the interview. Wearing the shield was optional, but only after certain minutes of the interview had passed. So yes, the mask was continuously there.
बाकी ऐसा तो कुछ नहीं है, जैसे अब आपने बता दिया कि मुझको तो बोला फेस शील्ड हटाने के लिए, और फिर दूसरा वाला जो आपके बाद क्या वो बोला कि मेरे को तो फेस शील्ड हटाने के लिए नहीं बोला, इसका मतलब मेरा इंटरव्यू बेकार गया है, कुछ ऐसा भी था?
सबका सेम हो रहा था.
सबका सेम हो रहा था.
Every board in fact, certain boards also asked to remove the mask if the candidate was speaking slowly, or if the audibility was less. But throughout, I think in maximum boards, the mask was on for me also and for the interviewers also.
So were you placed at a distance? Were you given
Yes,
some collar mic or something so that you become more audible? Anything?
So collar mics were not provided, but
Okay.
definitely distance was there, and even the board members were sitting at a distance from each other.
Okay.
So the what do we call it? The arrangement was a little different from what we usually imagine. But other than that, I think everything else remained the same.
Okay. And what about your attire? What did you wear?
So I wore a sari for the interview because you have to wear formal attire only. You can also wear a suit. Boys definitely wear a suit, but girls can also wear the Indian salwar suit or a sari. Anything would do.
Okay. Okay. And yeah, so sorry for interrupting. I just wanted to get it out of the way. So how did you prepare for interview and what was your experience in the interview board?
Yes, sir. Sir, so I think preparing for interview is a very, very crucial aspect for this exam because interview demands actually putting what all you have acquired in the past year or the past 2 years and telling it in front of someone, explaining it to someone who already knows about everything. So that becomes a challenge. And interview also requires a very in-depth knowledge and an in-depth understanding because your interview can go in any direction and they can also start digging deeper into any issue. For example, my father comes from army. So in that case, I had to prepare a lot about the army. I had to prepare a lot about the health sector, about COVID, and about anything and everything related to me. Since my mother is a professor in Delhi University, I had to prepare about the education sector, the new education policy, everything that you can come across about
And
yourself.
being from the defense background, you would have resided in different parts of India.
Yes, sir.
So, like for aspirants whose parents are in the government jobs, be it defense or the civil, and who happen to spend multiple years in different locations. So, how did you prioritize? Did you prepare all of those locations, or how was it?
So I prepared all of those locations,
Okay.
and that made my interview preparation actually a bit tedious. But I think what you should be aware of is that they can ask you to compare the locations, the economy of those states, the polity of those states, anything, the literacy rates of those states. So you must be aware about all the locations that you've stayed in.
एनी प्रायोरिटी कि मैंने 12th क्लास इस लोकेशन से करी है एंड इट इज़ कमिंग इन द डैफ मेंशन हो रहा है, तो मैं उसको ज़्यादा महत्व दूँ, कुछ इस टाइप का एक प्रायोरिटी, या फिर
सर
या
जी
ज़्यादा
सर
जहाँ ज़्यादा समय बिताया कुछ?
सर ज़्यादा महत्व आई थिंक वेयर यू डिड योर कॉलेज फ्रॉम
ओके.
because at that time you were growing adults and you were more aware of your surroundings and where you're staying currently. Those two areas should be given the maximum priority. Other than that, thoda idea hona chahiye of where you were born, where you've done your 10th class from. For example, I was born in a state completely different from where I have stayed the rest of my life. तो उधर भी थोड़ा प्रिपेयर करना पड़ा. You should know. It should not look like you are a negligent person who's not aware of his or her surroundings. You should look like an aware citizen.
Okay. Okay. And what was your service preference?
So I had opted for Indian Foreign Service as my first preference.
Okay.
And the second was IAS and the third was the normal.
So why did you usually the students they go for IAS? Why did you go for IFS?
So I think that this exam is actually a 2 or 3 year process. But the job that you do is something that is going to stay with you for the next 30 years of your life. So you must choose what really interests you and what you're actually passionate about. For myself, I think two major reasons played a role. The first one was that I actually really liked studying about international relations. In fact, right now also I have a few books in line which I was planning to read about international relations after the interview gets over. So my interest lies in that area, and I think my strengths can be better utilized for the country if I join the IFS.
So do you feel in hindsight that maybe PSIR could have been a better option?
Yes, sir, I sometimes felt that because I wanted to know more about international relations, and GS में international relations is touched upon but not in too much depth. But hopefully I'll read more about it now.
Okay, so it was a dream to enter into the foreign services like before you began your preparation, or during the course of preparation your knowledge expanded or your experience expanded in such a manner that you felt that this is a service which I want to be in?
Yes, sir. So for me, IFS was not a career option, it was a dream.
Okay.
So initially, though, I was in a lot of dilemma because, as you said, a lot of people opt for IAS, and I did not want to go against the crowd or against the tide and do something that nobody else does and regret it later, maybe. But then, through the course of this preparation, I had a stronger resolution for IFS as I came to know more and more about international relations, and I started being more aware about the Indian Foreign Services officers that are there throughout the world. and I really liked the job profile, and that is why I opted for it.
Okay. So, I mean, what are the challenges which you see, not like going forward, but like during the course of preparation, how do you find that the job of an IAS officer is challenging, or it is interesting, or it is that adrenal rush giving, so that any students who have doubts, maybe they can get more insight into that.
Uh, so, sir, I'd say challenges for one might be opportunities for another.
Yes, yes.
So, the challenges that IFS provides are actually the things that interest me a lot. For example, you have to travel, you have to shift from one country to another. And here I'd like to say that since I come from an army background, I have always traced my identity to India as an entire country and not to any particular state or district. So representing India on an international platform in itself is something that I have always desired. So that everything that I see in the Indian Foreign Services appears to me as something very interesting, something that gives me great opportunity to present myself there and learn more and more. So I think it will be an enriching experience.
Yeah, and when events like evacuation from Afghanistan
Yes,
take
sir.
place, the job, it requires very different kind of things. And many of the times you have to like bring back your NRIs or the Indians who are abroad in a
Yes, sir.
crisis situation. You have to get them back, and
Yes,
these kind
sir.
of challenges are also there.
And sir, the COVID-19 pandemic has shown us that how the challenges are surpassing national boundaries.
Exactly.
There's no challenge restricted to any particular country now. Everything is bypassing boundaries.
And I think it would be very interesting also, like getting certain fugitives back into India,
Yes,
for
sir.
example, like coordinating with different agencies
sir,
for
definitely.
that would be real interesting thing. Okay. And so how did you prepare about this foreign services specifically? Did you refer to any particular magazines or any sources for a detailed in-depth preparation on the service?
So preparation was not in depth because as I said, my optional was not PSIR, and in GS you do not get a thorough knowledge of those aspects. But sir, a lot of research took place. I also had a friend with me who was appearing for the interview, and we would discuss international relations together. I think that helped a lot, and I made notes of every little aspect of international relations. I think interview was the area where I made the maximum notes. I made notes for anything and everything because I did not want that any little aspect should be there where I have to say that I cannot understand this issue or something that I should be knowing which I do not know. So I made notes on every little aspect, and I focused mostly on the neighborhood because neighborhood is asked more, and also on other aspects like the United Nations and other organizations. So I think I prepared entirely for it.
Okay.
Nothing.
So what was the at times in the interview they ask questions which you are not prepared for.
Yes, sir.
I mean, you are saying that you prepared everything possible. So was every question expected question, or did you had to face some bouncers? How did you deal with those bouncers?
So I have said that I prepared everything, but now I'll say that in my interview, 70% questions were unprepared. so, so I was not asked any question on the health sector, which
Okay.
I had thoroughly prepared. I was not asked anything on COVID. And in international relations also, I was just asked one question. I was not asked why IFS, which was something that I had thoroughly prepared. So the majority of questions were actually very thought-provoking and very analytical. Those were things that I had to think about then and there, sitting then and there itself. A lot of questions were asked from current affairs. One question was asked from that day's current affairs itself, that day's morning newspaper itself.
Okay.
And thankfully I had read it because I was last in my row to give the interview, so I had a few hours, so I read the newspaper.
So was it a new development which had come, or like
Yes, sir.
if you had not read that day's newspaper, you would have still been able to answer something?
No, sir, it was a new development, and in
Okay.
fact, I was not also completely aware of it. But then it is all about how you handle these questions. If you get very anxious, or if you remain calm and composed and you handle them with grace, and you're able to bring out what you know, in a balanced, polite, and humble manner. Because, sir, at the end of the day, the services you're joining, answer writing is an aspect, but communication becomes a major aspect that will help you throughout your life. That is something that is non-negotiable for a services that has to go down to where the public is and have certain trust with the public. So communication and presenting your views in a non-arrogant manner, in a humble manner, that is very much necessary.
Any particular question which is your favorite, which posed a great challenge to you, and which you maybe keep on thinking intermittently, and how you dealt with something which you are proud of, that I dealt with that question, I had not prepared. Any one example you would want to give to
So
our
I
audience?
think every other question was something that I kept thinking about after I gave the interview. But at the end, I was asked questions on my sari, and those were not trivia questions as it is being reported. Those were actually very intensively GK questions, I'd say. These are the things that we read about in prelims examination in art and culture. And it began with asking me that what is the sari that you're wearing? Are you even aware about what you're wearing? Or you've just come up here?
Was it a
being-
lady member or a
No, sir, the chairman asked me
chairman
that.
asked? Okay.
And that border had a painting on it. So I was asked which tribe makes that painting, where is that tribe found? And then he started giving me names of different saris, and I had to tell the state where these saris are. And it continued for 5 minutes, 5-6 questions on different, it was like a rapid fire, this sari, this state, this sari, this state. And thankfully I could answer all those saris, and in the last I was a little confused, but then he nodded that I'm saying it correct. So then all the questions I could handle well. So that was one interesting aspect.
Analytically, like one challenging example
Yes,
of
sir.
question.
So apart from this question, all the other questions that I was asked were analytical. In my optional subject anthropology, I was one member asked completely on the optional, which was actually not directly related to the optional. So I was asked one question that we have linguistic diversity in India. Should we also have legal diversity? Like as language evolves in every other part of the country, law should evolve in the same way. We should not impose it. So for that I said that law must always be a guiding force. It is not an imposition of law. We have the flexibility. We have certain tribal areas such as 5th schedule and 6th schedule areas. So law and society should always go hand in hand. One cannot overpower the other. And other questions were also so similarly analytical. As I'm saying, I had to think about it.
And this was a good answer. I mean, on that theme, because since ethics it is your strong point.
Yes.
So like Mahatma Gandhi, he talks about decentralization of power,
Yes,
and
exactly.
law, it is a tool of the state.
Yes.
So if we say, so very good. I mean, that's brilliant. Yeah, so that's why she got the highest marks. And so apart from this, any like when did you start preparing for your interview? Was it like after the mains or even before that?
No, so I started preparing after the mains. But while preparing, I realized that interviews should be kept in mind throughout your preparation. You cannot ignore the interview stage, because at times we read something, we are able to write it down, but we are not able to explain it to someone else. So getting that capacity to explain what you've read to someone is something that can be inculcated right from the start. There is no harm in thinking about it. For me, I started preparing after the mains. The interviews got delayed, so we had whole 9 months in hand. And there, as I said, I prepared very intensively for every topic for interview, and I made notes on that. And I would practice also answers, speaking answers, I would practice that.
Because what I was having in mind is that, I mean, your views are obviously, what I'm soliciting. So if you had began preparing for the interview before your mains, so many of the times what happens when we are reading the newspaper and something pertaining to our profile, which rarely comes, maybe in 3 months or 5 months it comes in the newspaper, right? For example, let's say our, the place, the district where we are born, or the district where we did our, college from. Maybe that district becomes famous for certain thing, or our, dental, like your, your particular, some new development takes place in that
Yes, sir.
field of your graduation,
Yes.
you know. So because ये niche areas हो जाते हैं जो हर रोज़ नहीं आता है न्यूज़पेपर में. So I was thinking कि अगर कोई स्टूडेंट जो है अपना एक प्रोफाइल पहले बना ले, एक ड्राफ्ट प्रोफाइल, और उसके हिसाब से अगर उसे लगता है कि कुछ एक हाईलाइटिंग फीचर अगर न्यूज़पेपर में आया, तो उसके अगर इंटरव्यू के नोट्स वो साइड बाय साइड लिख के नहीं तो कम से कम सॉफ्ट कॉपी फॉर्म में कॉपी पेस्ट करके कुछ एक बनाता चले साथ में, तो शायद मतलब ये बेटर है, या फिर मेंस के बाद ही, मतलब क्योंकि इसमें टाइम भी ज़्यादा जाएगा, ये भी इसका एक नेगेटिव है थोड़ा सा.
So I think you should just have an awareness. You need not intensively devote time for it, but just be an aware citizen. For example, if the name of your district is being changed, then you should know that the name is being changed. What are its repercussions? This question can also be asked in mains as well. So have an outlook where whatever you're preparing for mains, you understand it to that level that you can explain it to someone, that you can talk about it. Because talking about an issue is more difficult than writing that issue. So that should be the perspective. After mains, you can intensively start preparing on the small details that you cannot focus on before. But I think you can have a little, at the back of your mind, you can have a little awareness about the things that are going on.
Okay, great. Anything else about interview which you would like to elaborate upon?
So I'd say that when I got the interview call, a lot of people told me that it is just the test of your personality. You don't need to read anything. But let me make it clear to everyone here that your personality derives from the knowledge that you have. And if you don't have knowledge about yourself, then it will reflect in your personality. So don't go by these statements. You need to prepare exclusively for interview and prepare intensively for it. Every stage requires the due respect that that stage deserves, and you must be someone who is of substance, who is capable of taking a stand, who has an opinion about things, and who has understood what he has read. He has not just memorized it. You can explain it. So I think interview should be focused on.
Okay, and since you are talking about reading, so reading current affairs, it also becomes an important part of the preparation. So we have touched upon current affairs, but specifically we have not touched upon that how exactly to go about current affairs. Like you have mentioned that reading newspapers. So should one read the whole newspaper daily? How many newspapers should be read? Should one add a current affairs magazine, or like one like bifurcate that maybe editorials one can read and rest one can depend maybe on the coaching notes or any other source, like your strategy pertaining to current affairs?
So sir, for current affairs, we do need to read the newspaper. But for that, in the starting phases, it gets a little difficult to understand how to read the newspaper. For that, we can take help of any material or any video that is there, or sometimes we get some institutes take out the important news, any news analysis that is there. That that help can be taken from there. Apart from the newspaper, you should supplement it with a current affairs magazine. So these two things should always go hand in hand during the preparation. And if you're not able to understand, take help from other resources, but please read your newspaper, because newspaper gives a flow to your preparation. You are always in touch with current affairs.
Okay, so the whole newspaper?
No, sir, not the whole newspaper. For this, you will need to understand the syllabus. Editorials, maybe, if there is a very important editorial which directly links to your syllabus, usually hota hi hai, that you have to read. Apart from that, for example, in international relations, if you're getting, for example, if you're getting a news about Afghanistan, then you must look at that. In the front page, for example, we get a lot of statements made by the Supreme Court. Sometimes a judgment takes place. So we must be aware of everything that is happening around us. If we want, we can note down the small details in a separate notebook. But ऐसा नहीं करना है कि सिर्फ मैगजीन पढ़ लेना है, न्यूज़पेपर छोड़ देना है, because both should go hand in hand.
तो कोई मैगजीन आप जिसको आपने मतलब जो आप रिकमेंड करेंगे, जैसे योजना है, कुरुक्षेत्र है, और बहुत सारी मैगजीन्स हैं, इकोनॉमिस्ट है, मतलब एनी वन विच यू रेफर टू?
Sir, by magazine I meant the coaching material of Current Affairs Monthly magazine.
अच्छा, okay.
तो वो बहुत इंस्टीट्यूट्स की आती है, विजन की भी आती है. सो जो भी आपको सूट करे आप न्यूज़पेपर के साथ एक रख लीजिए. वो एक रिवीजन की तरह काम करता है. आपने जो न्यूज़ में पढ़ा वो इम्पॉर्टेंट एस्पेक्ट्स रिपीट हो रहे हैं उस मैगजीन में, तो एक्चुअली एंडिंग अप रीडिंग दैट ट्वाइस.
ठीक है. और फिर नोट्स मेकिंग एक बहुत डाउट रहता है दैट सम ऑफ द स्टूडेंट्स दे से दैट when we are beginners and when we start making notes at times the newspaper reading one whole newspaper it becomes an exercise जो कभी कभी कुछ स्टूडेंट्स के लिए तो 4 घंटे भी पहुंच जाता है, 5 घंटे भी पहुंच जाता है, बिकॉज इंग्लिश की भी प्रॉब्लम रहती है. तो और फिर अंडरस्टैंडिंग के साथ अगर पढ़ना है तो क्योंकि बिल्कुल बिगिनिंग में फ्रेश स्टार्ट कर रहे हैं तो एक वर्ड या एक फ्रेज भी कुछ नया है तो वो पता नहीं कि कैसे लिंकिंग है. तो मतलब नोट्स कब बनाना स्टार्ट करें एंड शुड वी मेक नोट्स, क्या सिर्फ एडिटोरियल के बना लें या फिर जो इम्पोर्टेंट लगे उसके बना लें, कैसे मतलब?
तो सर जब नोट्स मेकिंग की बात होती है तो ये चीज़ क्लियर करना बहुत ज़रूरी है कि आप हर दिन के पेपर के नोट्स नहीं बनाएंगे.
ठीक.
You will select the topics that you feel are important and add it to your existing topics. For example, the notes will be topic wise and not daily. And even for editorial, you don't need to make notes of the entire editorial. आप उसमें से select कीजिए. It is okay अगर नहीं समझ में आ रहा है, अगर कोई point important नहीं लग रहा है, धीरे धीरे you will come to a level where you will start understanding. बहुत टाइम लग जाता है इसमें. इट इज़ अ ग्रेजुअल प्रोसेस, बट इफ़ यू डू इट एवरी डे देन यू विल रीच दैट स्टेज. एडिटोरियल में भी बहुत बार कुछ बहुत अच्छे पॉइंट्स होते हैं. समटाइम्स इवन ब्यूरोक्रेट्स हैव रिटन वेरी गुड आर्टिकल्स जिसमें बहुत एक्सीलेंट पॉइंट्स होते हैं. यू कैन जस्ट जॉट इट डाउन इन दैट टॉपिक ऑफ द सिलेबस. समटाइम्स दे आर गुड कंक्लूजन्स देयर. जस्ट टेक आउट दैट कंक्लूजन, जॉट इट डाउन in that portion of the syllabus. Those will be your notes. Your notes will not be sitting and making notes of the entire newspaper.
तो जो नोट्स आप बनाते थे वो आप हाथ से बनाते थे या फिर मतलब आप कंप्यूटर पे बनाते थे?
सर मैंने कंप्यूटर पे बनाए हैं. आई यूज्ड वन नोट. इनिशियली आई वाज यूजिंग एवरनोट. तो आप कोई भी सॉफ्टवेयर, कोई भी एप्लीकेशन यूज़ कर सकते हैं. वट एवर सूट्स यू. दैट सूटेड मी बिकॉज एक जगह सब कुछ मिल जाता था और एक ऐड करना बहुत इजी हो जाता था.
रीऑर्गेनाइज करना भी.
हाँ.
और सबसे खास बात कंट्रोल एफ.
बिल्कुल.
बहुत जान बसती है उससे.
हाँ.
कंट्रोल एफ से
तो आप बहुत ईजिली एडजस्ट कर सकते हैं. बहुत बार बहुत टाइम बाद वो न्यूज़ दोबारा स्टार्ट हो जाती है
जी.
तो आप बहुत ईजिली उस न्यूज़ तक पहुंच सकते हैं और वहाँ ऐड कर सकते हैं.
और आपका रिपीटिशन भी नहीं होता है, आपको पता
हाँ.
है कि मैंने पहले कितना वो प्रिपेयर किया हुआ है और इसमें अब कुछ ऐड करना भी है, नहीं करना.
एग्जैक्टली.
ठीक है. तो एनसीईआरटीज़ के नोट्स बनाते हैं या फिर मतलब एनसीईआरटीज़ को बस ऐसे रेफरेंस के लिए हम यूज़ कर लेते हैं?
Yes, so as I said in the beginning of the preparation, that NCERT आप पढ़िए, वो आपके बेसिक ब्लॉक्स होंगे अंडरस्टैंडिंग के. अगर कोई इम्पॉर्टेंट एस्पेक्ट है, जस्ट नोट इट डाउन इन दैट टॉपिक ऑफ द सिलेबस और पुट अ टैग देयर, मार्क इट देयर.
ठीक.
तो और अगर आप नोट्स बना रहे हैं, इफ़ यू वांट टू मेक नोट्स, देन एक NCERT के 2 पेज से ज़्यादा के नोट्स मत बनाइए. डोंट स्टार्ट मेकिंग नोट्स ऑफ एवरीथिंग एंड एनीथिंग. जस्ट मेक नोट्स ऑफ व्हाट यू फील कैन बी आस्क्ड इन दिस एग्जाम or what you feel you might forget.
वो तो आई थिंक दैट स्टेज अ स्टूडेंट वुड रीच थोड़ा सा एक्सपीरियंस के बाद, दैट व्हाट कैन बी आस्क्ड इन द एग्जाम. सो मे बी इन द बिगिनिंग जस्ट सिंपली रिपीट रीडिंग्स
Yes,
ऑफ एनसीईआरटी और यू नो
Yes, sir.
that
So,
should be right.
if I talk about myself,
Yeah.
so I am not very good at making notes. I
Okay.
get tired if I write a lot. So I would just mark it and put a tag there.
Okay.
क्योंकि बिगनिंग ऑफ द प्रिपरेशन था. बिगनिंग में हमें इतना कॉन्फिडेंस भी नहीं होता कि हम जो नोट्स बना रहे हैं वो ठीक बनेंगे या नहीं.
Exactly.
तो एंड ऑल्सो आई वुड फील मोर कंफर्टेबल रीडिंग अ प्रिंटेड मैटर एंड नॉट माई ओन हैंड राइटिंग.
That's a very important point because
Yeah.
like in psychology we read about it, everyone has a different learning style.
Yes, exactly.
So what suits to you, that's important.
That is very, especially for this exam, you need to find out what is working for you. Don't go by what I am saying or what anyone else is saying. Your style might be completely different.
Okay. And what role does like so many coaching institutes are there, so many YouTube channels are there, so there is like a problem of choice, right? I mean, multiple platforms are there, online also, offline also. So overall, how should a student choose? And second, is there even choosing required bhi hai? Like, is there any role of guidance or like कैसे है one can begin it on its own, or like many of the students, they are also connected issue is that many of the students, they think that we should move out of our place and maybe we should start residing in a place where a lot of UPSC aspirants are residing. That will help us in getting some kind of a sense of competition, some kind of sense of guidance. So like a cumulative kind of a question है आपसे कि ये जो एक गाइडेंस से रिलेटेड एक चीज़ है, या फिर चाहे वो गाइडेंस हमें किसी कोचिंग इंस्टीट्यूट से मिल रही हो, या फिर किसी ऑनलाइन प्लेटफॉर्म से मिल रही हो, या फिर अपने साथ में जो को एस्पिरेंट्स हैं उनसे मिल रही हो, तो इनकी मतलब इनके पूरे बारे में आपका क्या विचार है, मतलब व्हाट्स योर थॉट्स?
So firstly, I'll begin by saying that it is not necessary to come to Delhi and stay here in Old Rajendra Nagar. You can prepare from home as well. I stayed here for 1 year, but it did not suit me. And when I went back home, that is when I actually started studying. So आपको जो फेवर करे, बहुत लोग होते हैं जो सिर्फ लाइब्रेरी में पढ़ पाते हैं, फॉर देम दैट इज़ गुड. बट बहुत लोग होते हैं जो बेड पे बैठ के पढ़ते हैं, घर पे पढ़ते हैं अपने कमरे में. तो आपको जो प्रेफरेबल है वही करें, किसी और के कहने पे मत जाएं. द सेकेंड थिंग अबाउट कोचिंग्स एंड मल्टीप्लिसिटी ऑफ मटीरियल, सो आई से जस्ट स्टिक टू वन. डोंट गो रनिंग आफ्टर एनी एंड एवरी मटीरियल दैट यू फाइंड. हर कोई मटेरियल देखने में नया लगता है, बट एट द एंड ऑफ द डे एवरीथिंग इज़ द सेम, एंड दिस यू विल रियलाइज इन द लेटर पार्ट्स ऑफ द प्रिपरेशन. स्टार्टिंग में सबको लगता है कि इसमें एक लाइन एक्स्ट्रा है तो मे बी दिस मटेरियल इज़ बेटर, क्योंकि हम एक ऐसे स्टेज से आ रहे होते हैं जहाँ पे हमने बहुत ज़्यादा, एज आई सेड, मेमोराइजेशन पे एम्फोसाइज़ किया होता है. बहुत ज़्यादा डायरेक्ट क्वेश्चंस आए होते हैं हमारे लाइफ में इससे पहले तक. लेकिन यूपीएससी ऐसा एग्ज़ाम नहीं है. आप अपनी बेसिक नॉलेज के बेसिस पे भी ये एग्ज़ाम क्लियर कर सकते हैं. अपने बेसिक्स को स्ट्रॉन्ग कीजिए. तो डोंट रन आफ्टर एवरीथिंग, स्टिक टू वन, and guidance is definitely important. If you have guidance from somewhere else, if you have a sibling, if you have a senior friend, then that is completely all right. If you have no guidance at all, then you might take help of any coaching, you might take online classes. So it is entirely up to you. There are no exceptions, and also don't idealize exceptions. Just make your own way. ज़रूरी नहीं है कि जो एक्सेप्शन के साथ हुआ वो आपके साथ होगा. आप हार्ड वर्क को आइडियलाइज करें.
दैट्स वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट मैसेज, बिकॉज अपने आप को आइडेंटिफाई करना. जैसे बहुत सारे लोग इसमें होते हैं कि हमें एक फील आई कंपटीशन की कि हम ओल्ड राजेंद्र नगर या फिर कहीं पे जाएंगे, तो बट आपने कहा आपको तो सूट नहीं किया, और आपकी असलियत तो पढ़ाई स्टार्ट हुई जब आप मतलब एक अकेले में थे, जब आप पढ़ाई कर रहे थे. ग्रेट. सो एंड अपार्ट फ्रॉम दिस, like what are your future goals? मतलब अभी IFS हो गया है, what is your first language choice going to be, and like how do you look after मतलब look towards the post selection life? When are you heading off to Labasna, and how is it?
So heading off to Labasna, I think hopefully 5th December is the date.
Okay.
And as for the future goals, sir, I'd say that the journey does not end here, the journey begins here. So the amount of dedication that I put in this preparation, I would like to continue it in the job itself, and that is all that I have in mind right now, to serve the society to my utmost levels and do the hard work that I was putting in this preparation and channelize it into the job at hand. So
Okay.
that is my goal.
So any language preferences which you have chosen?
So we'll see that.
Okay. Good. And any message for the aspirants overall in the conclusion?
Yes, sir. I think determination is very important. And it is said that if you start your morning with determination, you go back to bed with satisfaction. So determination is something that is non-negotiable. Just mix it up with consistency and discipline. And something that is very important is that don't ignore your mental health here. You have a lot of low phases in this exam. This exam in itself is so lengthy and so taxing that you really need to have a mental stability, a mental balance. If you have low issues, address them and don't give up.
Okay. So thank you, Pala. It was amazing. It was a brilliant experience talking to you. And I'm pretty sure that a lot of our audiences, they would really benefit from this interaction. Thank you so much. God bless you. Take care.
Thank you, sir.